Hello there, fellow loom knitters. Today we're going to focus in on Flexee Looms by KB Looms. This loom has been on the market for about 3 or 4 years now, and this review will be like no other because I've been using it for 3 or 4 years. So it will be based on experience, not just, ooh, it's a new shiny loom. No, today we're going to look at what to expect inside the box. We're going to look at the pros and even a few cons, but I got to tell you, spoiler alert, it is currently my favorite loom out there. And just as a reminder, this is where we level up together. And let me begin, or should I say before I begin, I am not being paid by anyone to say anything in this video. This is not sponsored by anybody. Though there is an affiliated link below, and that's to get your own Flexee Loom. Now, should you choose to use that link, I may be compensated by Amazon, but it will be no cost to you. So that's, I guess, the only disclaimer I really want to say. I am not being paid to say any of the following things. Okay, on with the review. So what to expect in the package? There's a little booklet that, shows you, it actually lists what's in the package. It's got some stitching tips in case you don't know what you're doing, and a simple hat, a basic hat, and a basic blanket pattern. Nothing fancy, but what I do want to call your attention to, because I don't want this to get lost, this is the best pick around. It comes in every single Flexee Loom. It is phenomenal. I mean, it's just long enough. It's a good width. It's got a nice flat surface where you can put your thumb, and it's bulbous here at the end so you can grip it properly. There we go. See that little curve? And I want to point out it's got a great angle on it, and look at that point. That is a fabulous point. It fits in those grooves perfectly and doesn't split your yarn. I freaking love this thing. It's like Goldilocks. It's just right, at least for my big paws. Okay, enough about the pick. Okay, so on to the looms. I wanted to point out that all of the packages, or I should say all but one of the looms, come with two types of pegs. There are the rounded pegs, which allows us to create a circular loom in any size that we need. And there's also the flat-edged pegs. Now, most of the looms come with both types of pegs included, except for the biddy loom. The biddy loom only has the rounded pegs, but that's pretty much a non-issue because with the biddy loom, you only use one strand of either sport weight or sock weight yarn, which means that the actual project itself is physically smaller, so that when you fold it all up and put it into a project bag to knit on the go, it's not an issue. So as I mentioned, there are also straight links in with the rounded links. The straight links provide a very important role. They provide stability to the entire loom. So what I've been doing lately is I've been pairing my straight links, with the rounded links so that they can be throughout the entire project. And as I said, it provides more stability. And that way, when I'm reaching for a link, I don't end up with a bunch of straight, flat-edged in a row, because that would mean they would be unstable and inflexible. Defeats the whole purpose of the Flexee Loom. Now, having said that, in regards to when I am knitting here at my desk and I've got a flat panel in front of me, I will often take 2 or 3 of just the flat links and put them on the end so that it stops my whole project from rocking as I knit. Just saying, there's a tip for you. Look, we're already leveling up. And now I'd like to call your attention to a design detail that would probably often get lost. You see these teeth in there, in between? Those teeth actually grip on to the edge. So you've got the teeth in the I guess in the female part, and then you've got they link into the male part and they give it a good grip that makes the whole thing quite secure. Another thing I wanted to point out is that each link has 2 pegs, which is fabulous when you're doing ribbing, because I myself, when I'm doing ribbing, a 1x1 ribbing, I often will do first knit, second purl, first knit, second purl. So as I'm going in the direction, I can knit and purl and remember where I am depending on the link. It's also great if you do a 2x2, because it would be, well, this link would be knit, this link would be purl, this link. So you see what I mean? It's really easy to keep track of your ribbing as you're on your project, as you're going around. So I guess that's a pro, but it's also a design detail too. I'm not quite sure where to stick that one, but hey, you've got it. Another design feature I'd like to point out is that each of the Flexee Looms come in 2-tone colors. So you've got light and dark. So again, going back to the ribbing example I just used, you can do knits and purls, and alternate so that the actual color of the peg will prompt you to change the stitch. The same is true if you're doing a larger project and you're inputting a cable. So you can do whatever your pattern is here, and then when you encounter the darker pegs, you switch that stitch. So basically, you can use the 2-tone colors as a stitch marker. So it's kind of cool that it can prompt you if you choose to use it in that way. Just another design feature. And now we're moving into the pros officially. So when and if, and it is a huge if, you happen to break a peg, which I got to tell you, I am a tight knitter and I have reamed on those pegs pretty good and not broken one yet. But if you do, all you have to do really is just, transfer it, use a cable needle or a stitch marker and stitch holder rather, and keep going, because the loom remains functional. You just swap out one link for another, toss the broken peg away, and you still have a functional loom. It's a non-issue. You don't have to transfer your project. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to relegate the loom to a specific project. Moving forward, it's like, no, it's all good. So you're saving money right there. Another pro is in one box, you can create several hat sizes, so several circles, the circular loom in any size that you need. Also, if you get more than one box, you can now do a panel, so you can create a blanket, like a queen size blanket or larger, who's fooling who, the sky's the limit here. So you can have one project all connected on one loom. No more joining, no more sewing, no more connecting. It's all good on one loom. How deluxe is that? The Flexee Loom comes in 4 different gauges. Now we're all used to seeing the chunky. I think this was one of the first ones out because they came out with the chunky and the skinny at the same time. But the chunky, this is what we normally see at the craft stores, and we've seen this gauge for years. And if you wanted to knit with a medium weight yarn, like a number 4 worsted DK weight, you needed a double strand just to get through this sucker and to make it decent, unless you wanted something really lacy. Also, they have the regular weight or regular gauge loom, which is a little tighter gauge than the chunky, but again, you still need 2 strands, or if you're using a bulkier weight yarn, 1 strand will do, and this gauge will give you a tighter knit, a tighter gauge. Other thing that I wanted to point out was the skinny loom. This one is currently my favorite right now because you can use a worsted weight yarn, a medium DK, Aran weight. 1 strand will do. So already you're saving a crap ton of money because you're only using 1 strand of yarn instead of doubling it up. So this is a very nice gauge. And then they recently came out with, and at least it feels recent to me, the Biddy loom. This loom is an even tighter gauge. And this loom, Now that I've been knitting for over a decade, I realize it is a passion. So I am more inclined to buy more expensive yarns. Well, more expensive yarns. Who wants to use double an expensive yarn hand dyed? No, no. Let's just use one strand, please. So now I can use my one strand sock weight yarn, hand dyed merino cashmere blends and not have to double up. So that's a deluxe thing. So as I said, they come in 4 different sizes for you to choose from. Great for any project at all. As a designer, this Next Pro appeals especially to me. And of course, probably to any other designer out there. It is increasing in the round. This is the only loom that we can increase in the round on because it can expand. By inserting pegs, you can expand your project. So that means that when you're designing the hat, you can have it come down from the top down. When you're designing a sweater, you can have it going from the neck down. When you're doing socks, the toe up. And for those of us that have wider calves, once you get to the heel, you can actually expand it to tailor fit however large your calf is. The possibilities are endless. And I'm just like, this is what I can think of off the top. So, the Flexee Loom is totally revolutionary. Love it. As previously mentioned, the loom is completely collapsible. So it can fit into any project bag and you've got knitting on the go. Unless you're doing a queen size blanket, then you may not want to travel with that one. Just saying, bring another project. Hey, I don't know about you, I've got a hard time with monogamy because I've got several projects on the go. There's the Knit Night project, which is usually a show and tell with the tribe. Then there's TV knitting, which I don't have to pay attention to at all. Then I usually have a design that I'm working on right now, which I have to uber pay attention to. It's like, oh my God, nobody breathe because I'm so focused. And then there's the other project that I just have on the go in the car with me. It's usually crochet because I don't have to look at that one. And, my husband will say to me, oh, I don't mind driving. Hey, I don't mind knitting. Works for me. Something I noticed while filming this video took me by complete surprise was that the actual links fit together in different gauges. So you can have the largest gauge going into the next gauge, into the next gauge. So in my mind, again, as a designer, you could have a bulkier, chunkier stripe in a project or a thinner stripe in a project. It's totally up to you. Oh my God, very exciting. You're welcome. And now for the not so great news, the cons. First thing I noticed about this was we couldn't double knit. So you'll notice how the pegs come together and that'll totally screw up your gauge. So not a good idea, which for me means no brioche. Now, if anybody knows how to do brioche in a single panel, I'd be very interested to hear about it. So leave a comment below, please. That would be appreciated. Okay, so no double knitting. So my biggest gripe with the Flexee Looms, and it's a pretty big one, is the 3-peg link. Only the Biddy Loom has it included with their loom sets. All the other sizes, all 3 sizes, you must buy the 3-peg link separately. So they come in a package of 4, so you get 4 of them in the package. They're not cheap in comparison to the rest of the loom. And if you're knitting things in a flat panel, that's a non-issue. You don't even need the pegs. But if you're doing something in the round and you need an odd number in the round, you gotta have a 3-peg link to give you that odd number. And you have to go through KB Looms because Amazon doesn't even sell them. So you can't get them on Amazon. So, I mean, if you're in the continental United States and you reach the minimum order of, I think, $50, it's free shipping. Not a problem. But for the rest of us that don't live in the States, well, they're going to charge you the privilege of shipping. Yeah, bend over. Just saying. So having said all of that, bottom line, the Flexee Loom is the best loom I have encountered in a long time. Like, holy cow. It's lightweight, it's flexible, it comes in several sizes. Not to mention, the best pick around. Oh my God. And then there's increasing in the round. The floodgates have opened. Endless creativity possibilities. Oh my gosh. Holy cow. KB Looms have leveled up loom knitting as a craft. Like, thank you. As a designer, thank you. Now, if you found this video helpful at all, please like, turn on the notifications, and subscribe. That way, you'll be among the first to know when new tips, tricks, and techniques become available. So remember, this is where we level up together, right here. So until next time, I'm Stacey from Stitches by Stacey, and remember, deliberately learn something new and have the confidence to implement what you've learned. Thanks for watching.